What's up everybody, Will Mosby here, back with yet another video, and in this video we're going to be talking about how to frame a tiny house. Let's go. Alright, so before we get started, as you can see behind me, the tiny house is completely framed and it's sheathed, but I just have to give you a disclaimer and a warning that this is a lengthy video because, quite frankly, there's a lot of material here. There's a lot of content that goes into framing a tiny house, a lot of steps that go into framing a tiny house. And so I tried to cover those as best I could and to give you as much information as I could. So warning, this is a lengthy video and I'm sorry for that, but I tried to break it down into chapters. So if you're looking for something in particular or looking for a particular process, I've kind of got it broken down into chapters below. So just go in the description, look at those chapters, and if you need to jump ahead, go ahead and jump ahead. But warning, this is a lengthy video. So let's go ahead and get into the actual process that I use in the how-to stuff. All right, let's go. All right, the subfloor is done and complete, and you can see the tarp is still on there, which means it's been raining. Again, I've got a free day here to work on this, and it's rained almost all day. So finally it dried up, I can remove the tarp, and I'm starting to work on the front left wall of the tiny house. So let's just kind of talk through that real quick. All right, so while it was raining, I actually took a bunch of boards home and cut them all to length for this front wall. This first one is the bottom plate, and it's already cut to length and kind of test fit with the rods in place. And so what I did, came up and put a chalk line, you can probably see the little chalk line there in red, and marked it exactly 4 inches in from the frame. I want to line this up with the frame because the frame is square. The subfloor should be lined up within a ½ inch of that, but I'm not counting on that to happen. I did my best, but so I'm going off of the actual frame, and that's where I'm going to line up. So I'm right on the line all the way down, and everything looks good. And then I just kind of laid it off to the side and pre-marked my holes, drilled them out where these are going to go. Now this is just test fit. I've already got the board also marked where all of the studs are going to go as well. And so what I'm going to do next is go ahead and make the wall here on the top, and I still have to put seal down first, and it didn't come in my shipment from Lowe's. Thank you very much, Lowe's. Another trip to you guys. So I've actually got to go get it. It was on my order, I paid for it, they didn't somehow put it in the shipment over to me. So I've got to go get it. So that's got to go down first underneath our bottom plate once it's all made, and we can just raise it up and put it in place. But this thing sits just perfectly, so I can go ahead and attach the rest of the lumber to our bottom plate and match up the top plate to it. Here we go. All right, so I am working on the front right section. Basically my framing is broken down into 3 sections, 3 basic walls, and the front right section. But what I thought I would do now is to kind of break down how I approach each of these, because I'm out here with a generator, and since I don't want to have the generator running the entire time and fuel efficiency and just kind of saving cost, I'll run it only when I need to. So let's talk about what I do and how I kind of get set up so I only use the generator when I need it. All right, so the first thing that I do is actually pull all of the lumber that I'm going to need in their natural state, and I mark them first before even I turn on the generator. So I've got the generator down here. Before I turn on the generator and start the miter, I go ahead and mark all of the lumber, my specific sizes that I need. And then I go back and cut all the lumber, turn the generator on obviously, and cut all of the pieces. And now the next phase is to actually go over here. So I took my top and bottom plate for this last little section over here, and I've got it clamps down, and so this is my bottom plate, this is the top plate for this front right section, I've got everything marked out where my studs are going to go. Now the next step is to go ahead and transfer all of that. Go ahead and mark all of these. I just kind of marked it up, and I'll take the speed square and mark both pieces. I'm actually going to put my window header in here and line it up as well with this, and mark the window header, because I've got a lot of cripples, about 5 of them underneath the window header, and so I'm going to lay that in here and mark that with this as well, so everything lines up nice and neat. And then what I'll do is I'll come over and we'll just lay out the bottom and the top plate over here on this section. Now it'll extend just like that wall does. It'll extend past the trailer, so you kind of got to build the bottom part on first, kind of lift it up, slide it this way, and then put your top plate on that way. Now that's the way that we'll do these 3. So there's our first section. That's the left front section. Here's the middle section right here that goes over the wheel well. That's why we've got that big header right there that is going to rest right on top of the wheel well. And then now we're going to be putting together this front right section right here. Let's go. All right, so before I nail everything together, let's just talk about it real quick. So this last section, this is one of the corner posts right here, and you can see I've got 2 king studs that go the full height of the tiny house, and we're going to put some spacers. That just makes it a little bit more strong, a little bit more rigid in each corner. So each corner is going to look just like that, but instead of trying to nail it together sideways from the side, I'm just going to nail in the tops first, then place that one on top, and then come back and nail that all together. So one super strong piece. Over here, these guys are butted up against one another. We have a cripple for the wheel well, and then we start with a king stud, and then a jack sits right next to it, because that is the bottom corner of the window sill header. So these 2 are together. So and these 2 are for the wall that are on the inside, for the bathroom wall, and they sit really close, just a couple of inches apart. So instead of trying to somehow angle the nailer, the framing nailer in here, I'm just going to lay them on their side, nail them together first, then stand them up and come in and put 2 nails in on the bottom. That's a lot easier than trying to finagle some kind of angle. That one will be okay, that one's just fine, that one's just fine. And this one, I don't have to worry about it, because I've got enough space on this side to be able to nail these together than trying to come in at this angle as well. But I might do it anyway. Let's nail it up.
And I just got the worst jam the gun has ever had. It took me a long time to get this jam out. But what you don't want to do is you don't want to be connected to the air hose whenever you are trying to release or get a jam out, ever.
All right, so as you might have guessed, oh, by the way, we're surrounded by little kids' baseball right now, so it's probably a little bit noisy and cheerful in the background. Not a single board is going to come straight from any manufacturer, especially with this header right now. This header is turned and twisted upwards this way, so it will not line up correctly in here. There's a giant gap right. Since I'm a one-man operation, I can stand on it to get it flat and level, but I can't get enough pressure then to nail anything in or screw anything in. So what I've done is I've rigged up a long lever with just a clamp, and now I can bend it over, and you can see it on camera. I can literally turn that header into position. So I've got my screw here, kind of gave myself a little room. I'm just going to turn it. And voila, it's in place. All right, so one of the important things that you will want to do is, and maybe I should have done this earlier, but it's going to be okay to do this right now, is to square up. Make sure that the subfloor is square to the trailer, and make sure that the trailer is square. I was taking a big assumption that the folks that put the trailer together got this thing absolutely square. It works out that it did, but I'm going to show you the method to find out, and we'll go around each corner, but I'll show you how to do just this one corner right here. And so you can do what's called the 3, 4, 5 method, where you measure up 3 feet on one side, 4 feet on the other side, and the hypotenuse or the diagonal should dissect that line, those 2 points at the 5-foot mark. If you want to be a little bit more precise, make your triangle a little bit larger. So do a 6, 8, 10. And so I've marked out here on the subfloor 6 feet. I've marked over there 8 feet, and this tape should hit that 8-foot mark at the 10-foot at the 10-foot. So hit the 8-foot mark 10 feet on the hypotenuse. Let's see if I can get this right. Okay, so I've already measured up, and we'll go back here and check. I've measured from the subfloor back 8 feet, which just happens to be the length of this OSB. And I'm dead on. So my 10-foot mark is absolutely dead on right here. So I know that corner right here is square. That's good for when I'm going to be putting this wall up and plumbing it. So I'll go around to all the rest of the corners, and we'll just double check them, make sure that we are absolutely square. But that's how you do the 3, 4, 5 method. All right, so you can see that we have a few walls up already, and we know that each corner is square, so the frame is square itself, the trailer is square, subfloor is square, and I've already have this wall marked and up and in place, and I stayed on my chalk line. So basically what I did, since I'm square, I came in 4 inches from the frame and backed in. That leaves 3.5 inches for the bottom plate and a 1/2 inch for the sheathing. That's going to put me right dead on with the frame itself on the outside. I backed in 4 inches, chalk line all the way down, backed in 4 inches, chalk line all the way down, and knowing that I'm square, so I'm good. But there's another thing that you can do, and that is I want to measure the inside dimension here. So inside of that bottom plate to the inside of this bottom plate, and then we'll take this measurement and go up there and make sure that these 2 walls have to run parallel the whole way down. You don't want them kind of going in and out. Now we'll check that once we get up top and make sure that the top is done. We'll do that later. But this bottom one will set the stage for the rest of it going all the way up. So I took a measurement right here. I'm at absolutely 93 7/8 is what that is, inches across. And so what we'll do is we'll go up there and we will mark 93 7/8, and that's where we will put that wall. Once we get up there, we'll build that wall and put that one at 93 7/8. All right, so you can see behind me I have almost all of the front and back walls completed. That one next to me is done, just needs to be raised up and set on top of the wheel well. And this is the last section for the back wall. Now when we were building on the front side, I had a whole entire trailer deck to build on. So I had a whole entire platform that I could move, build up on the front, slide it this way, and then connect the top plate. I don't have that luxury now on this one. So we're having to do a little bit of finagling to work on this shorter deck, because I've got 3.5 inches off of that. I was only 8 feet 6 inches wide to begin with, so obviously it's sticking out way past, and if I obviously put top plate on over there, I'm going to run in, so big mess. So what I'm going to have to do is actually lift all this up, slide it out, and then attach the rest on that side. And then once it's out here, we can kind of lean it down, and then we'll have to lift it up onto the trailer. I thought about building it backwards. I thought about building it where the bottom plate was there and doing that, and the top plate be here, and then we would lift it this way. Maybe that was better, I don't know, but I'm just, I'm learning my way here, and I wanted to build with the bottom plate here, top plate there. So we'll just slide it off and we'll lift it up. Another thing though is I can't attach the end post right here because a bunch of stuff is in the way. So I'm going to basically do the same thing. We're going to pick it up, slide it out, because this jack is in the way. So we're just going to pick it up. I'm going to slide it out. We'll put this in place. We'll attach the top plate. We'll do the header as well, and then we'll have the wall complete. And then we'll slide it out and we'll pick it up and put it up. All right, here we go. Another thing that you have to mess with are these bolts. They're in the way. They're good to have because they're welded to the trailer, but trying to slide things around, you hit them all the time. Now they do act as a support, so whenever we were lifting that wall over there, we had the wall here, we could put the bottom plate up against it and it acted as a support as I'm lifting the wall up so it wouldn't slide off the trailer on the other side. So it actually helped us. So with lumber from the big box stores or lumber from any place, you're just going to get stuff that is not straight. 99% of it's not going to be straight. And you can see this top plate is severely warped. It is connected 1, 2, 3 here to the header, but it is like really twisting that way. So here's my solution for taking care of that, because I want this thing, like, I can't squeeze this and pull the trigger on the nail gun. So the trick, but this can, if I don't run out of threads. So that thing is really warped. It's struggling. That's pretty good right there. So I could use nails, but I think I'm actually going to use screws because it's got a little bit stronger holding power. So I'm going to use screws through this header right here.
So I definitely recommend having some help when lifting the walls up on the trailer. So I got my daughter, my wife, and a buddy of mine, and we lifted the wall up onto the bolts, and it didn't quite line up. I literally was off by 1/2 inch on 2 of the bolts. So I had to jump down and leave the girls hold the wall while I grabbed the drill. But after some slight modification, we were able to lift the wall up, put it onto the bolts, and everything lined up perfectly, just as I planned. Then all we had to do was put the washer and the hex nut on the bolts and tighten it down. So there are 4 threaded rods on this wall alone, which provides a lot of strength for securing the wall to the trailer. But as overkill, I added 3-inch screws in each of the stud bays for further securing the bottom plate to the subfloor.
All right, so today I'm going to be working on the end walls. and they are a rake wall. So that means that they're going to go from the high side on this end to the low side on that end over there. And I'm going to show you how I'm going to lay this out on the deck so I can cut it. So I've kind of cleared the way of all the support boards on this end because it gives me enough room to actually make this wall. And this wall is actually going to be on that end, and then I'll make it again for this end. But I can use the same template that I have laid out here. So let's jump up here on the deck and let's talk about it. All right, so the first thing that I did was I made sure that my distance between this corner and that corner, and this middle and that middle, and this end and that end, and all the way down was exactly the same. And it is. It's 93 7/8 inch all the way down. I did have to loosen these bolts and scoot the wall in just a little bit on this end, and you can actually see that I'm right up on my red line there, my little mark. That is exactly 93 7/8. So I'm square down here on the bottom. If I'm square here, that means I can be square up at the top because I'm going to build it right here on the bottom. Perfect. All right, so the first thing that I did was I measured all the way up to the height. I know the height of the outside edge of the board, and I know that on this side it's 10'1". That's exactly what these guys are. You know, all these studs right here are all 10'1" going up to that top plate. That's what I'm going to make these. I'm going to make this side 10'1". This side is 10'9" because I'm dealing with a 1/12 pitch. So I measured from down here at the very back side, pulled my tape up, and then added 1.5 inches because of my base plate. All right, so now what I've done is I marked where the corner is going to be for this 10'1" mark, and the corner is going to be over there. And I snapped a chalk line, and I actually drew a black line with a Sharpie on there so I could see it real good. Then I cut my angle. So the angle for this is about 4.9 degrees on a 1/12 pitch. You can call it 5 if you want to, but I've set everything at 4.9 degrees, and that's going to be right on. In SketchUp, that's what it is. It's 4.9 degrees. I cut my first board here 4.9 on this end and just ran it up right on my corner mark, and then ran it along that part right over here to where that intersecting chalk line is, and then I'm going to put my board right on it. And then I don't know if I can do this and work the camera, but I'm going to make a mark right where that intersects right there, and I'll even make a line kind of like that, just kind of telling me that I need to angle my blade that way whenever I'm making this cut. Okay, so now I've got my distance there for this, for the top plate here, and let's go cut it. All right, after cutting it, here's what it would look like. I'm dead on over there on that side, rolled it right over, right on my line, right on my mark, right on the edge. That's perfect. That's what you want. I'm still working. I got the far end wall up, working on the second rake wall, but I'm just going to talk it through again. We've already got our outside boards put in, and now I'm just going to show you how I do all the infield boards here. I've got my bottom plate laid out and marked with what goes where, and we're going to work with this king that is right here. And this king stud is, you can see, 1 foot 8 inches in from there, from the outside. Okay, so I'm just going to put it in place and go up here and show you what I do. So we know we're at 1 foot 8 down at that end from the outside edge. So we're going to pull across right here 1 foot. Whoa, I need a little more tape. Pull out, and I'm right at 1 foot 8 right there. Okay, so then I'm going to leave that and make a mark where this dissects basically our top plate. Our top plate is in place. It's sitting on our line. We've got it supported on the back side so it doesn't wiggle too much. It's dead on over there, dead on over there, and I've actually nailed in all the 4 corners, so this thing's not going to move. So just take your speed square, bump it right up against there, and then mark a line. Now the next thing that I like to do is to give myself a little indicator of which way I want to make the cut. And so I know this is the downhill side, so I'm going to actually cut that way. So now we can go over to the miter, we'll finish our line here, and then we'll put it on our 4.9 degrees, and we'll make the cut. Here we go. All right, so we got the wall built, and I've got a brace running across, and I've got it set up right now to where I'm going to, by myself, lift it, and the wall should come in contact with this brace on the outside, and we'll stop dead on our tracks and be perfect. Okay, let's give it a shot.
Well, not everything works according to plan. The top of the front wall was leaning in a bit and preventing me from lifting the end wall all the way in place. So I had to put a support on the end wall so I could go over and pull on the front wall to open it up wide enough to be able to push the end wall in place. But after clearing things out of the way, I finally have 4 walls up.
And that's it. All right, we're gonna clamp this thing down on the sides. We'll square it up. But we're up. All 4 walls. All 4 walls. Go for it.